Hey, Johnny, what's up?
What's up, Paul? How are you?
I'm good, man. How about you?
Outstanding as always.
That's awesome, man. What do you got in for me this week?
This week, the podcast is going to be off the hook. You are going to love this podcast. Wait till I tell you about this kid that I met. His name is Julian Pavone.
Okay.
He is the world's youngest professional drummer. He's
Really?
even in the Guinness Book of World Records as the youngest professional drummer.
Dude, that's crazy. I've never heard of this kid.
I know, you're in the business and you've never heard of this kid. Look him up right now.
Oh, dude, going to.
Gentlemen, he holds the Guinness World Record as the youngest professional drummer. He's performed on The Tonight Show, Good Morning America, and he's here now to perform for us Bulls fans. Give it up for Julian Pavone!
Dude, this kid kills it.
I told you, man, he's outstanding. Now wait till you listen to the podcast.
It's a pleasure to introduce the Motivational Cowboy, Johnny D.
Hey, this is Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, with this week's podcast, and I am with Guinness World Record Holder Julian Pavone.
Yeah,
Did I say that right?
Yeah, you said it right.
Okay, I was like, I've been practicing this, and I finally hit record, and you're like, you were waiting for me to say it wrong,
Yep.
and I said it right, Pavone. Man, it is so cool to finally get you on the show, and
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
so, man, you have so much going on, but
Yes.
but before we get into what you have going on now, I want to go back to when you were just a baby. How does somebody so young discover that they like drumming?
So what happened was, it wasn't really that I discovered I liked it. I was just kind of brought into it. But what would happen is, it's a really funny story. I was in the womb, and my dad would put headphones on
Wait a
my
sec.
mom's stomach.
Wait. You were still in your
I was
mother's
still
womb.
in the womb. Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got this right.
Yeah. And my dad would put music or headphones on my mom's stomach and play music. And when that happened, I would kick very rhythmically, just on the beat. And it was really weird, right? And this is a true story. So, and my dad would make jokes saying like, oh, he's going to be the youngest professional drummer.
Yeah.
Things like that. And it turns out that happened. But it wasn't really that I liked drumming. It was just I brought into it. And I guess it was natural for me because I would play sitting in a high chair with my dad and things like that. So it was just natural for me.
Do you remember the first time you got behind a drum set?
Not at all, because
Well, what about video or photos? How young were you?
so I started drumming when I was 3 months old, and I cut
Are
my
you
first
kidding
CD.
me?
Yeah, I cut my
These are
first
things I
CD.
didn't even read about you. 3 months
Yeah,
old, you
3
grabbed
months.
sticks.
Yep, and I cut my first.
You
CD.
can't even walk yet.
Yeah, I know, right? And this is like I'll tell people this, and they're like, "Oh, okay, so you could drum before you could even walk or talk." Or
Right,
things like
yeah.
that. And my mom would be like, "Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's actually what happened on the Oprah Show,
Okay.
right?" So it was. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy. So I mean, do you come from a family of musicians?
I do. So my mom sings and plays piano, and my dad was actually a little bit of a drummer. But
Are you
he
better than your dad now?
Yeah, he says I passed him up when I was 4.
So your dad quit.
Yeah, I guess a little bit. Yeah.
So okay, so the world's youngest drummer,
Yes.
Guinness Book of World Records.
Yep.
Dude, how did that even happen?
So I actually got the record. There were a few requirements. So I had to, like, the shows had to be a certain amount, like over 45 minutes or something. And I had to be paid for the shows, something like that. So yeah, and after doing so many shows, you become professional. At least this is what I believe is correct.
Okay.
So I got the record after doing a certain amount of shows, getting paid for them. They had to be a certain amount of time, and that's pretty much what happened to me.
Wow. Do you still have your first paycheck of your first paid gig?
Oh man, I'm not even sure because I must have been really young.
Right.
I bet my dad or mom has it somewhere, but I actually have no idea.
That is cool because and I asked that because I'm a motivational speaker,
Right.
And I still have my very first paid gig. I got
Wow.
the first $1 when I cashed it.
Yeah.
I made sure that there was a $1 bill, and I made sure that I made a copy of that first
Wow.
paycheck. Do you remember how much that first check was?
I have no idea.
We're going to find out when
Yeah.
your dad comes
All
back.
right.
We are going to find out. That is awesome. So you started when you were young, like you weren't even born yet, and you're
Right.
already drumming in your mom's womb. You're the world's youngest professional drummer, and that happened at 4 years old, 10 months, and 15 days.
Yep.
And it was funny. You're like, yeah, I guess that they are pretty strict on that.
Yeah.
So how cool is that? You're 14 years old now.
Right.
So that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Has it even sunk into you that you are the world's youngest drummer, professional drummer?
I remember getting the plaque and things like that and being super excited, but it never really set in because drumming was always something to me that I loved to do, and it
Yeah.
wasn't something that I made a job, right? It was always something like performing. I always loved it. I always saw it as an awesome opportunity to show what I can do
Yeah.
and just enjoy the time and doing what I love to do. So getting that record, I guess it just put another name onto me.
Yeah.
It didn't change who I was, except I guess give me another name or something more that like another AKA.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
So to me, I guess it really never sunk in because I just stayed the same person.
Now, do you still practice every single day drumming?
I try to practice every day, but I've been really busy in the studio, things like that. And so I moved to New York, and being back in Michigan, seeing other family, and it's just hard to keep that up. But I used to drum, I think it was 3 to 5 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I was less than 10. That starts at like 4, and that kept going until I was like 8.
Well, I know that I was knocking on the door for 22 minutes this morning
Yeah.
while you were practicing, and I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I can hear the drums going.
Yep.
Will you stop drumming, please? We have a show to do. No, and you're so great at what you do. Let me ask you this. I mean, do you have a favorite band or bands or professional drummers that you to this day look up to?
So especially because I have a lot of rock in my background, I look up to John Bonham because a lot of my fills actually come from him. Neil Peart, Ringo Starr, just because he was able to keep this band on such a good rhythm and become so famous just by doing the smallest of things.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I thought that was
And
crazy.
do you realize that he didn't even know how to drum?
I actually didn't know that.
They hired him to be an actor. Then they showed him how to play drums. Now,
That's
if I
really
remember
interesting.
the story right, you got to look that up.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. So what kind of bands then did you like? I mean, like rock bands.
Led Zeppelin,
Really?
definitely
You're
one of I
14
love
years
Led
old.
I love them. Yeah, I just love the music, and
Yeah.
I have friends that love them, and we bond over that.
Really?
So it's really fun to do. Yeah.
Who else?
Rolling Stones,
Oh, wow.
Rush, Journey. Yeah.
That's awesome. So let me ask you this. If you could go back in time right now, if I had a crystal ball
Mm-hmm.
and I said, Julian, you can go and play with any band you want, what
Oh,
band
man.
would that be?
That's a really tough question.
You only get one answer.
I've got to say Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
Just because I have.
What song would it be?
Good Times, Bad Times. I think Rock and Roll, because that's a song I learned like on the dot or something. Or yeah. Man, that's so tough.
I know.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to say Led Zeppelin just because I have so much connected to that band.
Yeah.
And I love them so much and the music they had. And one of my inventions that I have actually comes from a video that I watched from John Bonham. So he was doing a solo, I think it was probably Stairway to Heaven, if I remember correctly. And I was super young, like around 5.
Okay.
And I just remember seeing it, and I remember asking my dad, because he's drumming with his hands. So I asked him, like, why doesn't he have like drum tips or like the tips of a drumstick on his finger? So I drew it out, and I had this idea of just putting drum tips, like having a glove with drum tips on each of the fingers, so then you could play, and it would kind of make a better noise.
Wow.
So that was just straight from the video and from that solo.
How old were you when you thought of this?
Like I said, around 5. It had to be
Wow.
around 5.
5 years old. And so you are the youngest inventor then too, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
I actually have that. That's another name I have.
Wait. Okay, well then we're gonna get into that. Wait, you know what? It doesn't matter. We just go with the flow here. So you're just the Guinness World Record holder for the youngest drummer but you're also the youngest inventor.
I am the youngest inventor. I have
What
that
was the
registered.
first thing you invented, or was it those gloves with the tips?
So the first thing I invented was abracadabra, which is almost it was like a whiteout, but for any surface. And this happened, I think it was from I got a chip on one of my drums. And I was like, oh, why don't we just put whiteout on it or something? Because I had a white drum kit.
Right.
And my dad we kind of thought over it. And that's pretty much what happened with that.
Really?
Yeah.
That is so cool. And then I mean, obviously this stuff just comes to you then.
Yeah. It's pretty natural.
How many things have you invented?
2 things that have patents.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let me ask you this. A lot of great drummers don't know how to read music.
Yes.
Do you read music?
I do read music. And my dad always tells stories of how, like at 7, I was able to not sight read. I learned Tom Sawyer by Rush, note for note. And that's on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah. So, yeah, that actually didn't take too long. But I learned it note for note. And just under the age of 10, I was reading at a college level.
Wow.
So just reading music, especially on drums, is really simple for me.
Okay.
But I love it. I can read
Wow,
music.
that's so cool. I didn't even know that either. So
Yeah.
you've been performing since you were how old? 3 months?
I'd have to say about 3 months.
3 months old, you've been performing. What's the biggest audience that you have ever played in front of?
I'm going to have to say over 20,000.
Where was that at?
That was for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay.
When I don't even remember how old I was. I think I was like 1 or something. I don't even
awesome.
remember. But yeah, I was signed to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I remember performing. I was just in a huge stadium, and there had to be at least over 20,000.
Do you go back and watch some of the video and stuff like that and go back and listen to audio? Because obviously you probably don't remember when you were
Right.
1 year old playing in front of over 20,000 people. But when you go back and watch it now, how does that make you feel?
It actually surprises me because this happened pretty recently. I was in the studio with a producer, and my dad was showing me off,
Yeah.
and things like that. So
Your dad's very proud of you.
Yeah,
and,
he
that,
is.
and, that, and that's super cool.
yeah, thank you. But yeah. So he was showing a video when I was in a restaurant, and I was just listening to the band, and we planned this out beforehand. So the drummer, Greg Bissonette, who's a drummer for Ringo Starr's band.
Okay.
So we knew him, and we had this whole thing planned out. So he was gonna ask for a drummer in this, like in the audience, or like in the audience in the restaurant, and under 15, under 10, and things like that. And I would stand up and say, me. I'm one of those drummers. So
And people are probably going, put this kid down. You're right.
yeah, and I was gonna drum with the band. So I was just doing some jazz, and I remember seeing that because right now a lot of my studies are based around jazz because I feel like I've gotten rock down a little bit because that's like all I've been doing.
Right.
But jazz I've been working on for a while now, and I remember seeing myself play, and I surprised myself because I didn't think I could actually do the fills, because fills for me in jazz is kind of a hard thing to do because I have a hard time just doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
But I remember seeing that and I was like, wow, that surprised me because I feel like I couldn't even do that now. And I was
Yeah.
doing that like 8.
Wow. So let me ask you this. While you're telling that story, I'm just thinking to myself, like, I know the difference between rock and jazz.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody can just listen to it and know that there's a difference. But for a drummer,
Right.
what's the difference of playing rock and roll and jazz? Is there a difference?
There is definitely a difference. So with rock and roll, it's always on the count. So like always on 4 beats, and you're always playing on it. It's never really you play off of it unless you're doing fills. But for jazz, it's always you can hear it. It's like you're skipping, and it's something called a triplet, which is almost like 3 notes and that you play kind of quickly, and that's what you hear on the ride cymbal.
Yeah.
Like the ding ding da ding. So when you hear that for me, that's when I know it's jazz.
All right.
And I can hear it, and it's just the way the drums fit in with the rest of the band. It just brings a different feel. It puts my brain in like a different, I guess, set.
Julian, let me ask you this, because I know, like, when I go to a rock show,
Yes.
I feel one way. When I go and watch jazz, my heart's in a different place.
Right. Exactly.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
You'll hear in my podcast that I get chill bumps when a great question
Mm-hmm.
and a great answer comes up. But I'm thinking about just sitting like in a jazz bar, and man, it's like it's emotional.
Yeah.
In a rock, it's emotional in a different way. Is
way.
it the same way when you are in the band?
I agree. Yeah, definitely. Because with rock, it's more like powerful and just always go, go, go.
Yeah.
With jazz, every piece has a time to shine. So sometimes I just need to play with the bass, and sometimes I get my own time to shine. So with jazz, I think I'm thinking a lot more about what everybody else is doing. With rock, it's always like, what am I doing, pretty much?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotcha. So let me ask you this. I mean, this is obviously a definite career choice for you.
Yes.
What would your backup plan be if you couldn't drum one day?
So what's interesting about this is I try not to think of a backup plan, because once I start thinking of a backup plan, it's like, all right, I'm going to have to take times away from the drumming. But I have been thinking about this, and I think one good backup plan would be with business, just because my dad is a businessman, and he'd be able to help me out a lot. And I don't feel like I would have to go really to school and focus so much on it. So then I could do my drumming, and I could start my own businesses with my dad, because he's just been in it his whole life.
Right.
Much.
Yeah. So are you in school now, or are you
I am in school.
homeschooled? Are you, and what do the kids think? Like, it's like when you go to school, are you just Julian, or are you the world's youngest professional drummer?
So I remember my first day at my new school. So, because I moved to New York, and at that point, I was just the world's youngest professional drummer. I was just this drummer that's been on America's Got Talent, Oprah, and things like that. So people were just kind of surprised by me. And this word spread very quickly. And even the next day, I just became Julian.
Right.
Right. So people just started becoming accustomed to me, because it's like I just became a friend.
Let me ask you this. You're in school now, right? So
Yes.
you're got to be going in high school, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going in 9th grade?
Yep.
Okay. Do you play sports like outside? Like when you're not drumming and you're not like doing things, do you play sports?
I do. I play baseball, and I do martial arts.
Okay. So this brings me to this question.
Okay.
There are certain things that professionals can't do because of what they do for a living. You're making money being a professional drummer at 14.
Yeah.
Are you ever nervous when you do martial arts and baseball and stuff like that? Because listen, I mean, you can get your finger jammed or your leg messed up.
Oh, like
or
for
broken.
drumming and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So what I try to think about when I'm doing those sports is I try to just think about what I'm doing with the team. And I'm not thinking about, how
So
can
you're
this
not
affect-
a drummer at that point.
I'm not a drummer.
You're a baseball player.
I'm a baseball player, or I'm a fighter.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Like with martial arts, all I'm thinking about is, how am I going to get this point? How am I going to work on my technique? And I'm not really thinking about the injuries that I could get. When I'm drumming and when I'm outside of these sports, I do think about it. But when I'm just in the sport itself, all I'm thinking about is, how am I going to be the best at this sport?
So you know that when you play, I mean, it's very upbeat. Do you think you playing sports keeps you in shape to be able to be a great drummer as well? Because you can't be a drummer out of shape. Because
Exactly,
you're not going to last long.
Right. So baseball, I think it helps just with hand-eye coordination.
Okay.
Because batting, I actually am
What
a switch
position?
hitter. I used to play when I lived in Michigan. I used to play a lot of third base, pitcher, and that was pretty catcher.
Okay.
So when I moved to New York, I was playing a lot of outfield.
Okay.
And a lot of I was pretty much like the catcher.
Okay.
So my position switched a little bit, but I think it just helps with concentration, especially with baseball, and just batting, that aspect of it, just concentration. And I've just got to be focused on that. And I think that helps with drumming, because that can help me just focus on like the rhythm or where I'm hitting the drum, because that makes a difference with how people perceive the sound and things like that.
You're constantly around music, but
Yes.
when you're working out, when you're running, when you're doing things around the house, what kind of music do you listen to?
I listen to a lot of rap, actually. So
Really?
Yeah, sometimes, because I'm actually getting into the rap business. I've been with producer Tim McCall, who is the dad of Juju on That Beat. And so I've been getting into the rap business. I'm working on a song right now.
Okay.
And I have to cut the drums tomorrow.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm listening to a lot of rap because I know that this is going to be like my next career thing. Yes, I'm still going to be doing the drumming, but I have to come behind the drums and do this new thing. And I've never heard of a drummer in hip hop that comes around the drums and starts rapping and dancing and things like that. So I listen to a lot of rap, and sometimes I'll listen to some rock, but it's mostly rap.
So I'm just thinking why you're like just talking about that. I can just like, you don't usually see drums at a rap show.
Right, exactly.
Right? So except for Kid Rock. I mean, he always plays drums at his shows, but that would be a great visual of you actually laying down the beats at the concert or at the show. And then all of a sudden you come from behind the drums to actually being the guy in front, because there's always a lead singer and then the band.
Exactly.
But you would be both.
Yeah, exactly. So
you get the best of both worlds on that one.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let me ask you this. So have you ever thought about being a professional drummer in a band? And if you did, what kind of band and what kind of music would you guys play?
So this is actually a tough question, because I don't want to be in a band, but I want to work with other people. So like with the song I'm working on now, I'm working with Derwin Acoustic, but it's not really a band. It's just a track and two people just rapping on the beat.
Yeah.
So I want to be a performer, really. I don't want to be in a band. I want to work with other people and make music that people want to listen to or people can relate to. So what I want to focus on right now is drumming to rapping, because you don't see any drummers playing to like rap, especially with the hi-hat. Now the hi-hat in rap is like, it's always really quick and it's hard to master. What I want to do is I want to be that drummer that can play to this. Nice. And then I want to also just get out from the drums and start rapping on the beat. Yeah. And that's what I want to do. And I think that'd be a great performing aspect.
Yeah, and it's something totally different because, I mean, you know, I talk about living the outstanding life. And if you look at the word outstanding and look at it backwards, it means to stand out. Right. To rise above the rest and be a little bit different. And I joke around all the time. I'm like, you can't get any different than a cowboy from Detroit. There's only two of us, me and Kid Rock, right? Yeah. I mean, so, you know, you have to be a little bit different. Right. You have to stand out. You have to think about your marketing. So obviously you've done that. Yes. That is so cool. Do you have any pre-show rituals?
So
now those of you that can't see this, he's smiling and grinning right now. So this is going to be, it sounds like a good answer.
Yeah. So what I don't actually remember many of my shows, and that's just because I was so young. Like majority of my shows, I was just so young and I don't remember them. Because, well, one, I was so young, and two, I was just in the moment. Yeah. And I was just focusing on how am I going to drum, how am I going to perform these people. So my most recent show for drumming was with the Chicago Bulls, and when I did that. So that was actually a show I got a little bit, I was just thinking about, all right, I just got to get in the zone. So I guess pregame rituals is just staying with family, like with my dad especially, because he's always by my side. Yeah. He's my manager. So I'll be talking to him. I'll just make sure I have everything set up. So I guess a pregame ritual would just be getting in the zone, putting my mind in the right mindset.
How much time do you need? Because I know how much time I need before I go do a show.
Before a show.
Like, because you know, like before a show, everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody wants to be around you. And you can't just like literally jump right into the show. You have to have that. Even if it's 5 or 10 minutes by yourself or with your dad, you need that time to either pray or just whatever you do to just get your mind in the right place. Are you the same way?
Yeah, I do definitely need time, because I remember just being in the green room, watching the game, watching the clock get down to halftime. And I just remember I was mainly excited. I wasn't really nervous, but I was excited. And I remember just like jumping around, getting all the butterflies out. Yeah. Because I knew all I had to do was just get on the drum set and do what I love to do.
So let me ask you this. That show is a little bit different. And, I know that people can go to your Facebook page, right?
Yeah, and you can actually go to my Instagram too. It's just Julian_Pavone.
And how do you spell that?
JULIAN_PAVONE.
And that's for Instagram?
Yes, that's for Instagram. And I believe if you just search up the same thing without the underscore, that's my Facebook.
And that's your website as well?
Yes, JulianPavone.com.
Yeah. So that show there, how many days were you there? Because didn't you have to do some rehearsals? Because you didn't just do the show by yourself. You did that show with 4 or 5 dancers as well, right?
So what happened was...
Yeah, walk us through that.
Like the months before...
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Before you even go there, what was it like getting the phone call to say, hey, we want you to be the halftime show for the Chicago Bulls?
That was crazy, especially because I just got with this new agency, and just getting that phone call, it was really great because I was in a little bit of a hiatus, and just getting back into doing shows like that, it energized me.
Yeah.
And it gave me that purpose again.
Yeah.
So just getting that call, it just made me feel so happy because I knew that I was getting back into it, and it just made me so happy.
So was that drum set yours, or was that the people that put the show together? Because that's got to be kind of tough too.
Yeah, that is tough.
When you go somewhere and that is not your drum set,
right?
It's like playing with somebody else's baby or going outside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that's different.
Yeah, that was my drum set.
It was, okay.
And so what happened was, like, I was in New York, and my dad lives in Michigan, and I'll visit every once in a while. But my dad drove down to Ohio, or Chicago, I should say. Yeah, and he brought my drum set with a few of my cousins. So it was my drum set, but it was really tough to do just because it's carrying drum set and all these different pieces. You can't just, like with a guitar, you can't just bring it everywhere you go.
Or like me, it's just a microphone.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have trucks and space and things like that. So he had to drive out to Chicago and bring everything himself. So all I had to do was just fly into Chicago and do the show.
So, okay, so now take us through those couple days. You got there the day before, 2 days before, and did you rehearse with these dancers and stuff?
So it was actually months before. I was rehearsing in Michigan, and just in studios and things like that. And I guess the first thing that got the show on the road was when I did that music video in Partridge Creek.
Okay. And
that was the same song, the same routine that I did at the show. So that really got it going. And the rehearsal for that music video was like, that was already it. Like, we already had it down. But I remember rehearsing just in the studio, things like that, in a dance studio. And it wasn't many rehearsals. I think it was like 2 or something.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't much. But I got into Chicago, I think maybe a day before. But just then, that was just relaxing time for me.
Yeah.
Just getting my mind in the game and things like that.
Wow, 20, and that was what, over 20,000 people, I'm sure, too, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And what song did you drum to?
It was actually a medley of a lot of different rock songs. So we had this hip hop dancing with these rock songs, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was. And those of you that are listening to this right now, you have to go check out his Instagram, Facebook, and his website, because the video is just pretty cool. You know what I mean? So let me ask you this. How do you deal with critics from either family, friends, and with social media now, everybody's a critic. Everybody loves to hide behind that keyboard and say things nice most of the time, but sometimes there are critics out there.
Right.
How do you deal with that?
So most of the time, the critiquing I get is positive, like reinforcement. And I remember being younger and hearing that would kind of like deteriorate my energy for it, and would kind of bring me down a little bit. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that they're just saying this to help me, right? Especially with family, drum teachers, and things like that. But sometimes, like with friends, like even friends of mine, they'll say things, and it's a little bit annoying, I'm gonna have to say. But I just kind of brush it off my shoulder because I know that there's so many other people that enjoy seeing like my drumming and things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So we're gonna get personal just for a second here. And listen, it's not a secret that girls love drummers. Okay. You're talented. You're a good looking kid.
You.
How do you keep yourself from getting distracted at 14 years old?
So with drumming, it's kind of weird. I'm always focused on the audience because I know that I'm there to entertain.
Right.
So it's almost like I let myself get distracted because it gets me in a better. It sounds weird. I let myself get distracted with the audience because it puts me in a better position to entertain.
Right.
So I kind of just let myself get
distracted.
distracted.
That's on stage.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about off the stage.
Oh, okay.
In your personal life, getting distracted sometimes can hurt somebody's career.
Yeah.
So do you have girlfriends? Or do you just stay away from everything and keep it business?
Well, I've had girlfriends and things
How'd
like that.
that work out? Did they like the fact?
Oh, you're so right.
So it was a distraction, right?
Yeah, I guess a little
and
bit.
You figured this out at 14, 13 years old. Do you keep your mind in a different mindset because of the fact you are focused on your career right now?
I don't. I kind of like to think of drumming as something I'll never lose and something I always love to do. So I'd let myself get distracted a little bit because I think I love socializing and I love, I guess, the attention and things like that. But it never really distracts me, but I always put it as a part of my life. So it's hard to explain, but I'm always around friends and things like that. So getting distracted, it's not, I don't think that would be the best word. It's almost just like another part that needs to be in my life. Just another like socialization aspect.
So I'm just going to ask you this then.
Yeah.
Do you like the fact that girls like drummers? And,
Yeah.
And you don't, what you're telling me is you don't mind being distracted. You like the attention from the girls. So if there are 12-year-old girls out there or 16-year-old girls out there, make sure you pay lots of attention to Julian. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess so.
So you don't mind it at all?
No, not really, because it's never a distraction. It's just another part of my life.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. You have appeared on over 300 TV shows and news shows. Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite show? I mean, I'm in your dad's office right now doing this podcast with you, and I'm looking at pictures of you and Oprah. I'm looking at pictures of you and Jay Leno. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you have a favorite show that you've been on that you're like, wow, I'll never forget that time?
I'm going to say Jay Leno. This is because it was actually my sister who got on the show, and she's
Wait a second, what?
So my sister is an incredible singer, and she's awesome, and she's
so
awesome
your
to see my
sister got you on the Jay Leno show?
Yes. So what happened was,
this is going to be awesome. I didn't know this story. This is awesome.
Yeah. So this was when the Cup song was at its peak and is really popular. So Annalisa, I did the cup like routine, and Annalisa did the singing. So we recorded it, and it was picked up by the producers at the Jay Leno show, and they saw it, and it was the singing that Annalisa did. It wasn't my little cup thing I was doing. It was Annalisa, and I love that because all of the shows I've done, it was always me getting on there.
Yeah,
and Annalisa, I'm gonna be honest, she always like was in the shadow, right? And she was just seen as the world's youngest drummer's like sister, right? And she never had her own name, but getting on the Jay Leno show, it gave her her own identity. And it wasn't just she was the brother of Julian Pavone.
Yeah.
She was Annalisa Pavone.
That's awesome, dude.
And that's why it's my favorite.
Is she older or younger?
She's younger by almost 2 years.
Okay. So do you guys have a great relationship? Do you guys gig a lot together, or was that like the only time you were ever on a show together?
So I remember doing a few things with her, but that was one of the only times. But what I want to do is I want to bring her out more, and because I know she has this like passion and gift for singing, and I want her to keep going with it. So I want to bring her out more and
she could do like
more like
backup vocals on some of your new stuff that you have coming out. That'd be kind of cool too.
And with the song I'm working on now, there are parts where there's a girl singing.
Yeah.
And I know my sister could do that. So I want, like in the future, I want her to be on the track.
Yeah.
And then she could perform and get the money.
Yeah,
and things like that.
yeah. No, I think that's awesome. So over 300 shows. Jay Leno was a big one, obviously, because you were on there with your sister.
Yes.
What are some of the other shows that you look back now and you're like, wow, I can't believe I was on that show? Like, I'm looking at a picture of you and Oprah right now. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, Oprah is like the queen of TV.
That, I'm going to have to say Oprah probably, just because it's always seen as, like, it was, with anybody that knows me, they always bring up Oprah. Like, if they're talking to other friends about me, it's always like, oh, he was on the Oprah show. And especially that I was on it twice. That's a big thing.
You just had to throw that in there, right?
Yeah, I just had to throw that in there. Sorry.
No, I think that's awesome. So what was Oprah like?
She was awesome. Now, I
like
only know this.
Everybody always talks about how awesome Oprah is.
Right.
Was she as nice as everybody says?
She was nicer than everybody says.
Wow.
And this is kind of funny. I only know this because of stories that I've heard from my dad, just meeting her, because I don't actually remember going on the show. I just know I did it, and I know that Oprah was really cool.
Right. So have you went back and like watched like the show and stuff like that?
Yeah. And yeah, just looking it over, seeing what I was capable of doing at that young age. Definitely looked it over.
Being in the studio and then doing live things, would you rather do live shows or studio stuff?
I would love Man, that's tough.
I know,
Yeah.
because there is a difference between because I know what you're talking about, about the live show. It's like you feed off everybody's energy, and that's just amazing. There is no alcohol or drug or anything in this world that can give you that high.
Right, exactly.
But it's also fun going in the studio and being able to make a mistake.
Right.
And then hit the slice button and get rid of it and go back and do it again.
So what I love to do is go in the studio, like bring up some rap song, because that's what I'm doing now, and be able to drum on it and then perform that live. Because doing live shows, it's always based on either a song, really. The only time it's my own thing is when I'm doing solos. Like if I'm doing, it's just the camera's on me and I'm just improvising. But I love going in the studio, taking that creation and bringing it out live. That's what I love to do.
You are definitely an inspiration at 14 years old. I mean, I'm getting, excited just talking to you.
Yeah.
What advice could you give kids that are trying to follow their dream? It may not be drumming. It may not be singing. It may not be rapping. It may not be.
Yeah.
It just could be in life that they're going through something tough because, that this business is still entertainment. It's full of ups and downs. One day you're a hero, and the next day you're not gigging for a couple days. You know what I mean? What advice can you give kids that are out there trying to follow their dreams?
So every time I get asked this question, my answer always changes, and it's because I'm growing more, I'm maturing more, and I'm getting more into the business. So I guess what you have to do if you really want to make it your dream is it has to be. You have to always be thinking about it. Your mind has to always be working on it. Because with rap, words are always going in my head, no matter what. And with drumming, anytime I hear a song, I always think, how could I do that? So you have to bring it out and make it something it has to be every day for you. You can't just do it once a week. You have to do it all the time.
So I'm just going to try to put this and summarize what you just said. Would you say that if you're going to dream it, it has to become your passion?
Yeah, definitely.
You have to live and breathe it, because I know that just like me, it's like I live and breathe the motivational business.
Right.
I will do whatever it takes to see people smile and be happy, and I'll go out of my way to do that. And I'm constantly, just like you, thinking of stories and stuff like that. So if you're going to dream it, then you better be. You also have to put the work in.
Exactly.
Right? You can't be the world's youngest and greatest drummer and not ever drum.
Exactly.
Right?
Right. So if you want it to be your dream and your passion, you have to put the work into it, and you can't just make it something you do on and off. This has to be your final goal.
Yeah.
And I think in this stage, when you're finding your dream and your passion, you can't think of a backup.
Yeah.
Because at this time, you're thinking you have to put everything into that dream and passion.
Yeah.
But what would you say? What do you think is some advice?
Well, no, it's funny you said that, because my last podcast, we were talking about this, because he does video and photography, and he's just amazing, this guy. And he asked me, he threw it right back at me. And I said, listen, when I got into the business 20 years ago, people often talk about, never burn a bridge, never burn a bridge. Not me. I said, I'm going to flip and burn that bridge to the ground so I can't go back and go back to what I don't even like to do anyways.
Exactly.
So I burnt every single bridge I possibly could so I could only do what I wanted to do. I had to.
Yeah.
And it's the coolest thing. So listen, you're 14 years old. I'm in my mid-40s. I realized something just 2 days ago, that we have something in common.
What is that?
You have gotten a Grammy. Was it an award? You had something to do with the Grammy.
Right. It was I performed at the Grammy Award show.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You were at the show? And
it was the museum.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's cool though.
Yeah, so I performed at the museum, and that was something really cool, because the seats in there, they had these names on them, of these high list celebrities, right?
Yeah.
And I actually got.
Come on, did you get nervous when you start seeing famous people's names on those seats?
No,
not at all.
Yeah, when I was younger, it was just something.
Yeah, I guess you just did it.
Yeah,
yeah.
It never really sunk into me that I'm performing in front of all these people. It was always something that I just do naturally. And yeah, so I got my chair So I actually got my own chair, and I got it next to Stevie Wonder.
No
and
way.
That was incredible.
Oh, wow, man.
Yeah.
That's another one of those moments that you're like, wow, am I like, so did you sit next to him?
He wasn't there.
Okay.
But it was like a legacy almost. Right? I was
Absolutely.
just, when people go in there, they'll see my name next to Stevie Wonder.
When you go to restaurants and when you're traveling and you see a band playing or
Yes.
a drum set, do you want to go and sit behind every drum set you see?
Not actually all the time. Sometimes I do feel this motivation and things like that, but other times I like to think this is their show.
Yeah.
This is their band. I don't want to jump into that or anything. I
Yeah.
don't want to take the spotlight.
Yeah.
That sounds cocky.
No.
But I don't
totally,
wanna-
and you're right, because there is something about, like, I just got back from Nashville. Okay.
Right.
I did some work out in Memphis and then went to Nashville. And I probably went to, they got honky tonk after honky tonk. I mean, right next door to each and every one of them. And there was just musicians that were so talented. And it was just fun for me to watch somebody else on stage.
Right. Yeah.
And then I watch too, because if I see somebody really, really good on stage, I'm like, okay, I like what they just did, and I'm going to try that next time I'm
That's
on
what
stage.
I was just about to say.
So have you ever done that? Like watch somebody so much that you're like, wow, I'm going to try that next time.
Yeah, I get to. Yeah, if I hear like a fill
Yeah.
or a new groove, it's like, wow, that really inspires
Where's
me.
the craziest place that you've ever gotten like a thought for a groove? I mean, like, okay, and here's what I'm talking about. You could be walking down the street and trip, and all of a sudden that sound of you tripping,
yeah.
all of a sudden you're like, wow, that's a cool fill. I'm gonna try that on the drums. Has that ever, like, maybe not that, but has anything crazy like that happened that you're like, wow, that's cool, I gotta try that?
So what happened, actually, there was two different places. One was on YouTube. I was watching a video. Dad, do you actually remember who was the drummer that I got the fill from? Which one? Aaron Spears? Yeah, Aaron Spears. So I was
Okay.
watching Aaron Spears. Yeah, he was playing Caught Up by Usher. And that fill, that's always a fill that's just it's in my ammo. Right?
Yeah.
It's always ready to fire. And with fills, usually for me, it's just improvisation. And I never think about it, but that's always a fill I have it memorized. I know it. I know how to play it. I know how to put it into the groove.
Yeah.
But that's something that it's just like, it's clockwork for me. But that was definitely on YouTube, obviously. And I actually found another fill on an Instagram post.
Really?
So it had nothing to do with drumming. It was actually something about Beyonce talking to her fans. And right at the end, she's done talking to him, and there's this really cool drum fill. And I was like, wow, that sounds so awesome. And I remember thinking about it. I was in Michigan, or I was in New York, and I just heard it, and I was like, wow, I need to try it out. And I remember coming to Michigan, and I finally tried it out, and it was super cool.
Have you ever taught somebody how to play the drums?
Yes.
Okay, so you can literally teach somebody in 30 seconds how to play the drums? Because you know that as soon as we're done with this podcast, we're going downstairs, and I'm going to get behind the drum set, and you're going to teach me how to drum. And dude,
right.
I can't hardly walk, so I have no rhythm at all.
I'll try to do it in under 30 seconds. But
What's the easiest thing to teach somebody on the drums?
well, probably the easiest thing is just like 4 notes on the snare drum.
Okay.
Because that's just simple, but that'd be more snare drum, not really drum set. So something I always go to when I'm teaching someone on the drums is the rock beat.
Okay.
And that's something you can play to pretty much any rock song and it'll work.
Okay.
So,
That's cool.
Yeah, that's something I remember.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember like doing it with friends. Like we'll have friends over and it's like, oh, teach me something on the drums.
Right.
And that's just something I go to.
So, do you play any other instruments at all? Because I went downstairs, before the podcast, and you had bass guitars, you had guitars, you had,
Yeah.
you had every kind of instrument down there that I've ever seen in your basement. So, do you play, or do you just like having other instruments in the house?
So I do play like percussion and congas and bongos and things like that, but nothing really other than drums. So, yeah, I do have the bass guitars and the guitars and things like that, but that's just from endorsements.
Okay.
And it's really funny because I'm not a guitarist or anything like that,
yeah.
but I just have them.
No, I think that is so cool. So I have to ask this: how do you travel with a drum set? You don't have a small drum set, kid.
Right,
So how do
exactly.
you travel with a drum set? Like with me, there's a microphone always waiting on that stage for me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a sound guy always there for me.
Right.
You you got 16 drums and you got cymbals
Yeah,
and you got
it's
this and
crazy.
you got that. I mean, how do you get your drum set from point A to point B?
So like my biggest sets, or my biggest set, the one I mainly, like the big show, I guess
Yeah.
you could call it. It goes all the way around me and it circles me, and I have like 17 cymbals, 22 pieces, and it's crazy. So the way I have to bring that is just in a truck, or we have to rent a truck and just put it in there and just drive it around, because I can't put it on a plane.
Right,
And
yeah.
I can't do anything like that. So like shows in LA would be really tough because I can't just bring my drums really.
Right.
I'd have to play on one of their sets
Have you ever went into somewhere like Guitar Center or something like that and just jump behind?
all the time.
You do?
All the
and
time.
And like people don't know who you are. All of a sudden you
Yeah.
you just start doing it. How much fun is that?
It's really fun. Sometimes like this is kind of weird for me, but sometimes I'm not really in the mood to drum.
Yeah.
Right, but my dad's like, "Oh, come on, Julian, you're a performer. You got to do this."
Yeah.
So I get on, and as I get into it, it's like I don't want to stop.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's really weird, but I sometimes just don't want to drum, and then as I start doing it, it's like I don't want to stop.
right.
So, like, my dad, when we're in New York, because he comes to visit me sometimes, and we'll be in the city, and there's a Guitar Center. So, every trip, I don't think there's been a trip where I haven't done this. We just go to Guitar Center and I just drum, and that's it.
So do you have like nicknames for your different kits, drum kits? Because I know, like, you know, when I'm with NASCAR drivers, some of them have nicknames for their cars. If I'm with people that, you know, are guitar players, they have nicknames for their guitars. Do you have nicknames for your drum sets?
I don't really have nicknames. I just call them by the colors I have. So my main, or the one I practice on, I just call it like the white set. And because all the drums are white, and that's the one I've been playing on my whole life pretty much. And
So you still have your very first drum set?
I do have my very first drum
Oh,
set. I
that
think
is
it's in
so
a box.
sweet.
Yeah, it's in a box. Like actually here.
Yeah.
So that one I just call the first one, I guess. I don't really have names for them like Betty or John or
Right.
something.
Yeah. What about like I know a lot of people, they like to custom their guitars.
Yeah.
And or paint, like with the NASCAR drivers, they paint their helmets and stuff
Right.
like that. Do you have custom paint for your drum set, or do they come the way that, you know, right from the manufacturer, the
Right.
way that it is, that you just keep it that way? Because now, you know, you can wrap a drum set now and make it look so much cooler
Yeah.
than what, you know, just wood.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't really have custom paint, but I have skins where my logo's on them. So
Okay.
it's like, it'll be like the normal skin, but it's only custom because my name's on it.
Gotcha.
So that happens with, well, and the look just for the drum set to go all the way around me, I guess that's custom, but it's not really custom made.
I understand.
Yeah.
Speaking of custom made, I noticed I read something on your website, and it said that you have your own mac and cheese.
That's true. I do have
Now,
my own
let me
mac
tell
and
you
cheese.
something. There's a reason why I bike 15 to 20 miles a day. There's a reason why I run 4 to 5 miles when I'm not riding my bike, and that is because I don't eat right.
You eat mac and cheese?
I eat a lot of mac and cheese. I love mac and cheese. How in the heck did this come up? I have to know the story about you, mac and cheese, and your name is on the mac and cheese.
Now this is a blur to me. I'm actually surprised I even remember this, because I was super young, like 3, something like that. And I just remember in the restaurant, right? My dad, the businessman, talking with the chef and things like that. And I don't even really remember it. I just know
So
that
it just happened.
it just pretty much happened.
So do
'cause
you like mac and cheese?
I do like mac and cheese, but I don't eat it like at all. My sister though eats like all the mac and cheese in the world. Like, you would love my sister.
Let me ask you this. There are certain things that I will not eat
Yes.
the morning before the show or the night before the show, because we're humans and we have to use the bathroom and stuff like
Right.
that. There are certain things that I will not eat. For you, knowing that you are going to perform that evening or the night before, you're going to, you know, entertain that next morning.
All right.
Are there certain things that you will not eat because you know it's not going to sit well with you?
Well, now actually, yeah. As I got older, I realized I was a little bit lactose intolerant. So it's really funny that I have a mac and cheese, and I'm like lactose intolerant.
Oh my goodness. So you don't eat mac and cheese the night before a show.
Yeah, I won't eat pizza just in general. And if I'm gonna get pizza, it's without cheese. I just can't risk it.
How do you eat
especially with the
pizza without cheese? Come
Extra
on,
sauce,
Julian.
mushrooms.
Yeah, but that's not pizza, bro. I mean, come on.
You know, original pizza didn't have cheese on it.
You're right.
In Italy.
Here
Just
you go.
saying.
Now you're giving me a history lesson, right?
Yep.
Your own drumsticks.
Yes.
I saw when I walked in that you had your name on drumsticks. So
Yes.
were those just a one-off, or do you actually sell drumsticks with your name on it?
So I don't think they're actually sold to other people, but I know I get either free or discounted drumsticks. I can't remember what it actually is, but they're very like
For you, I'm sure that they're free
Yeah,
because
yeah.
because even if they don't come free, your dad pays for them anyways, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it has my name on it. It's based off another drumstick. I forgot what it's called, but it's just pretty much a lighter version of it. And I remember testing out all these drumsticks, and I remember seeing the one that it was just like it, and I just asked for a lighter version of it, pretty much.
Okay.
And it was okay. This is a funny story. In school, in my new school, there was another drummer, and he was kind of like the drummer of the school,
Right, yeah.
of the middle school. So
Until you got there, right?
yeah, sorry, Eli. But yeah, he hated my drumsticks at first. Like I remember he was just trying them out at first. So he's like, oh my God, these are so light. Like I feel like I'm just gonna break these so soon, so quickly. And he would start just messing around with them more. And I remember one day in band class, he asked me like, hey Julian, would you mind bringing me some drumsticks? And
So now he's using yours?
So now I just bring him drumsticks, like my own drumsticks.
Okay, I got a quick question for you because I played hockey growing up, and hockey sticks were made out of wood,
Right.
Just like drumsticks.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
But now they make them out of all this other
Yeah.
stuff. Do they make drumsticks now in other things than just wood?
I believe they do. I actually know there's one that's either like plastic or something like that, but it has special lights in the bottom that when you hit it, it lights up the whole stick. So the whole thing is
Wow.
clear.
Wait
and
a
it's like
second. I just saw
plastic.
a 2-year-old wearing shoes like that every time that they
Yeah.
stepped, they lit
Yeah.
up. So they
So-
have drumsticks that light up.
Yeah. So now you can play with them, and every time you hit something, light shoots through it. And I know there's a wood version where there's a light at the drum tip. So when you hit lights just keep going, and that's not based on how you hit it. But with these ones, it's just clear and it sends a blue light through the whole thing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you got your own mac and cheese, you got your own sticks, you got CDs and T-shirts, and your T-shirts are really cool too.
Oh, thank
with,
you.
with that little like
Yeah.
what was
Caricature or
that? Yeah,
something. Yeah.
that is really really sweet. How can people find this stuff in like your CDs, your CDs and T-shirts and that kind of stuff? Can they go to your website?
Yes. So all this is on my website, and it's just julianpavone.com. I think it's also littledrummerbaby.com, but Julian Pavone's
You're
just
not a
lot
baby
easier.
no more,
Yeah,
though.
Not anymore.
So the other thing is, I saw that you have your own sushi roll.
Yes, the Julian drum roll. And
Wait, do you even eat sushi?
I do eat sushi. I love sushi.
Okay, so you eat sushi, you like sushi, you got your own name on a roll.
Yes.
Which I think is, how did that happen?
It's like the same thing with the mac and cheese, just talking to the chef, talking to the business, and making it happen. That was all from my dad, though, pretty much.
That is so sweet. Do you have a nickname yourself?
My dad calls me Bambino or his little Bambino, and that's just baby boy in Italian. But Jew, like J-U, I get called that, Juju, things like that. But nothing crazy. Mainly Julian. Like my friends always call me Julian. There's not only my really close friends will call me Jew or Juju or things like that.
That's so cool. So I want to talk about your new project.
Yes.
We haven't talked about this, and
Yeah.
we're coming up. Can you believe it's already been like almost 55 minutes here?
Wow.
I want to talk about something because you mentioned it earlier,
Yes.
and how you want to be the drummer, but do something completely different than any other drummer has ever done, and that is come from behind the drums during the show
And start
and
rapping
and then start rapping.
on my own beat and everything.
Where did this even come from?
So originally, though, before I met Tim McCall and that producer, and before I got all into this, I remember I was in New York, and this was actually not too long ago, like a few months ago, I think. I was just talking to my dad, and I'm like, Dad, I have this dream, this vision, right? Because as I was doing these shows and I got older, I realized that it wasn't really like I had anything specific I was doing. I was just drumming to like these rock songs, and I wanted to do something, especially because rap was getting so big, and it's such a big thing. I was like, Dad, I want to be this performer. Like I want to do it almost like on my own. I want to be this performer well, I guess not on my own. I want to work with these like A-list celebrities and these rappers. And I want to be the drummer, but I don't want to be the background drummer. I want to be someone that's just as important as the rapper.
Yeah.
Now that was my goal, like, and it kind of sounds weird because it changed so quickly, but that's what I was thinking of, because I remember seeing a performance by Lil Uzi Vert and Ed Sheeran where they kind of collabed. And I remember seeing the drummer and it just sounded so cool. And I was like, I want to do that, but I want to be up in front with them, with the rappers and the singers and things like that. But and my final goal is going to be performing at the Super Bowl. I think that's my end goal. If I could reach that, that would be crazy. But as my dad got in touch with Tim McCall and started talking, I realized, or I guess they realized, that I have to come from behind the kit, and I have to do something else. And I have to rap pretty much. And after realizing that I can rap and I can write, that's where they realized that I could do that. You
can write music then? Have you written your own song yet?
I have written my verse on the song I'm working on now.
You always talk about improv.
Yes.
And sometimes you never know when you have to be ready to do something.
Right.
Can you give me a couple lines of the song?
Oh, of the song.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I can give it to you right now.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. That's
I'm
right.
pretty sure I have like all of it memorized.
Well, let's hear it, man.
All right.
It's just me and you sitting here in the office, so go ahead.
Here's how it goes. When times are low, I'm there to lift you up. When you're up, it seems like you've had enough. You've got to make up your own mind. I'm just trying to find my place in line. I always see you messing with the friends, driving around in his Mercedes-Benz. That kind of play's got to end, because around me it's your game. I know you're pretend. Staying in this relation invites fear. The fact that it ended like this brings me to tears. I put you in this place as a queen, like I was stuck in a dream. Now I just see you're a meme. I lifted you up at times when you fell to the ground. Everything was different when you were around. It's like I had to keep a watch on every one of my moves, but the only one I wanted to run was you. You brought me close only to push me away. It's like the stupid things you said were on replay. I love you so, but you just stall. I can't place you on the pedestal. Said, I love you so, but you just stall. I can't place you on the pedestal. And the song is called Pedestal.
Why did you write that? I mean, I have to say that the lyrics, and being a writer myself, those lyrics are awesome, but I can't believe that they came from a 14-year-old.
Yeah. So I was actually just having a conversation with my friend last night about it, because a girlfriend that I had, she thought the song was written about her, right?
They all do.
Right. So she was talking to me about it, like, oh, if it's about me, I don't care, and it's cool like that. I was like, no, it's not about you. Don't worry about it. But I just said it was about this girl in Michigan, because she lives in New York. I was like, all right, let's just see like what I can make out of this. But to be totally honest, now I guess I'm gonna keep it on the down low. It's not really about anybody. It was just, I was told I gotta write some lyrics. It's gotta fit in the song. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, well, I just gotta make it fit, really.
Yeah.
It's not really about anybody. Or it might be. We don't
right,
know.
Yeah,
Possibly,
we don't know. One day
know.
it might be. Yeah, exactly.
But it was just words that were kind of just in my head and thinking about it. And I told the girl that asked me, right, it's about this girl in Michigan, just kind of like messing around just to see her reaction. I should probably let her know that it's not about anybody sometime soon.
It doesn't matter, right? Just let it be.
I just want to see what she thought.
I want to wrap it up with this, and that is, if there was one word to describe you,
yes,
what would that one word be?
It's going to be Pavone. I think it's my last name that describes me, because I can't imagine how many generations there have been that have come down to create great-grandpa, grandpa, dad, and then me. Yeah. And I want to leave Pavone as a name that, because my dad's pretty much done this with businesses that he's created and that he's creating now. And I want Pavone to be, like, when they see me, they think Pavone, right? Yeah. And when I'm gone, right, when I leave this earth, I want Pavone to be left behind. So then my kids and my grandkids, like, they're known, right? And I just don't want to be someone that is just left behind, left in the dust, and nobody knows about me. I want to make a change. I want to leave a legacy, and I want people to know me. Yeah. So I think I want Pavone to describe me, just because that is my legacy. And there have been so many generations that have led to me. I feel like I can't just leave this earth without letting like, oh man, it's weird to say, but letting all of these people that have led to me, I can't just leave them behind. And ancestors of mine, it's like I can't leave their names unknown because I want people to know that it was me. Like Pavone is my name.
Yeah.
And that's what has just been led to me.
So would you say that, now you're known as the youngest professional drummer?
Right.
You're, in the Guinness Book of World Records, which is a cool title. Do you think with this next step in your career,
Yes,
that you're going to be known as Pavone? Is that what you would
it
want?
might be. Yeah. I guess so. Obviously, I'll have a stage name and things like that. But when it comes down,
that could be your stage name.
it could be my stage
right?
name. Yeah.
Because it actually sounds cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Right? I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, that just sounds cool.
Yeah, thank you.
And people won't always know that it's your last name if you play it off right.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think when getting in my old age, right? I just want people to know that I was Julian Pavone. I was Pavone.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to be left behind.
Do you know what your last name means?
It means peacock in I guess English.
Okay. Wow, that's so cool. So again, man, we got to wrap this up because
Yeah.
I had so many other things to even talk to you about, but really, I try to keep everything around an hour. But how can people find you again?
On my Instagram at Julian_Pavone. On Facebook, Julian Pavone. And again, that's JulianPavone. And if you just search me up on YouTube, you'll find me there.
So this is Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, with this week's Outstanding Life podcast. Again, you can find me at MotivationalCowboy.com, Twitter at MCJohnnyD4, and Instagram at Motivational Cowboy. Again, you can find us free on SoundCloud and iTunes. This is Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, telling you, be safe, have fun, and have yourselves an outstanding day. Thanks for listening. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Outstanding Life is a Soul Bridge Studio production.